It's Jeff and Wilma at Budrum, and we're just going to inspect our beehives at our main bee site here in Maroochydore. About the last 4 or 5 months we've sold a lot of bee colonies with the queens, so we've got these hives making themselves some new queens. So I'm just checking them all to make sure that none of them has died out. This one here was very strong, so I took a bit of brood out of this one to make a new hive. So I did a hive split. And as you can see, it's still got a lot of bees in it.
Yeah.
Now I talked about plastic frames on our last video we did about the Flow Hive, and I talked about plastic, and I mentioned how that the bees don't like working on plastic. So I'll just show you this one. They are working on it, but very reluctantly. So you can see how they've only come 2/3 the way down, and the rest of it is unmade. So they do work on it, but they're not too keen on it.
Where'd you get that from?
This came from the lychee farm. So we inherited about a dozen plastic frames. So I thought I'd try them out and see what happened. But as you can see here, they've left, this has been in the hives for about 4 months, and they're very reluctant to work on it.
Show us a wax one in comparison.
You can see here, with the wax, they're working on the whole lot. They love beeswax. I don't know why that is, but they seem to prefer beeswax to plastic. You see here where this frame came out of. You can see in here they've built the wax out quite thick, and they're moulding it into this. The bees prefer to build the wax out a lot further on the actual wax.
Wow, so I see.
You can see they've left a gap here,
yeah,
and they're making that
the wax
out a lot thicker.
Oh.
So the other thing...
They're really letting you know, aren't they?
Yeah. The other thing about the Flow Hive is the bees have got a bee space. So the bees circulate air from the entrance, and they work as a team and circulate air right through the frames, right around the frames, and you'll notice, I'll just pull out this frame here and just give you an idea. So you'll just see here, even that hole there, that they don't only use those holes to walk through, but they use them to circulate air through. So everything is done for a strategic reason. With the Flow Hive, the side of the frames go hard up against the window, so they have a window at the back of the box, and the frames are jammed hard up against the window, and the bees have only got in between the frames to circulate air up or down. I'm not sure whether there's a gap on the other side, on the front side, so whether that's hard up against the side as well, or whether they've got a gap and the bees can circulate air around there. But it's very important that the bees are able to circulate air. This video is turning into a Langstroth beehive versus a Flow Hive, but I'll get something out of the cabin of my truck and I'll show you something. Every beekeeper should carry a little spirit level. This is only a cheap one that cost about $5 or $6, and your beehive should always tilt towards the front slightly, just a little bit. So you can use your spirit level, because sometimes when there's a lot of trees around and the land sloping, it's very hard to gauge the level of the hive. So your hive always should tilt slightly to the front, so that no rainwater sits on the floor of your hive, because when the bees are chewing their way out of the cells, so you can just see here, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, another one over here, 6, another one here, that's 7. They drop all their cappings onto the floor, Now if you've got water lying on the floor, all those cappings will land in the water and turn into a sort of a soup. And that is, the small hive beetle loves to lay eggs in that and breed up in that. So you just want to avoid having any water on the floor. So because your hive is tilted on that angle forward, it means that when you put your hose in there to get the honey out of your flow hive, you're not going to drain all the honey out. So the honey at the front of those reservoirs is not going to drain out. So what you'll have to do, if you want to get all the honey out, is physically lift the box up and maybe put a bit of wood under it so you get all the honey out of your flow hive. So I only thought of this last night about that aspect of it. Now I had a phone call from a young lady this afternoon who saw our ad on Gumtree for bee classes, and she asked me about getting a bee colony office and things like that, and she asked me a few questions. Now she had a hive, I think it was this morning, and it was just chock-a-block, riddled with small hive beetle larvae. Just riddled with small hive beetle larvae. So I said to her, yeah, I wonder how one of those flow hives would go if it was riddled with small hive beetle larvae. Yeah, it'd be a pretty expensive exercise. Came here the other morning, there's cows all around here. Cows lying down right near the hives. And this hive was over on its back. So I was lucky that I found it when I did, because I was only here the night before, the afternoon before, and it was upright then. So I was lucky that I found it. I was able to straighten it up before the small hive beetle did any damage. So that's a circumstance where the small hive beetle can do a lot of damage. Once your hive tips over, you get a lot of dead bees, and then the small hive beetle can breed up. I want to talk about the flow hive again. Now have a look at this queen excluder. This queen excluder is probably about 25 years old, but you can see all those gaps that have been filled up. That's been filled up with plastibond, because they were all gaps that the queen could fit through. Now I must have repaired that about 6 or 8 years ago, and since I filled up all the gaps that the queen can fit through, the queen has never got through. Now that's another thing that could happen with a flow hive. You know, the queen could make her way up through the queen excluder and can cause problems, I'm sure. That's it for today. So what I do is I put this stool back here, hard up against the boxes, and then the cows can't trip over it. Well, it's reduced the risk of them tripping over it anyway. So anyway, thanks for watching. We'll catch you later. Bye.